So this should come before the other parts of the videos I just made, but it also can stand by itself. And some things you think should go without saying. However, you've got to say them sometimes because there's no such thing as common sense, to be honest. So I did say in part 3 that I'm obsessed, quote, obsessed. However, there is a huge distinction that needs to be made between unhealthy obsession and
privacy or boundaries. Concern be obsession.
Genuine admiration for someone that has a boundary of respect for who they are. So whether I'm talking about manifesting a specific person regardless of circumstances, which is BS because everybody has free will and they have the right to say no to you. Also, in a similar vein of conversation, when it comes to celebrities or people you don't know,
aka
and
strangers,
you're concerned about them and you're invested in the story or the mystery or the outcome, there has to be a balance. There has to be an understanding of boundaries. So the so-called tweet that came out from Britney Spears was in response to supposedly strangers calling cops because they're concerned about her. I'm concerned about her too, but I don't have the audacity to think that I could dare to call police on an absolute stranger. I'm a stranger to her. I just wanted to pop in and make this video because maybe I glossed over it a little too quickly in parts 1, 2, and 3, that if you're not related to a person or somehow legally bound to a person, then there is no reason whatsoever for you to be calling police about them. Like there was a case recently where a woman did not show up to work and the job reported her missing. She worked there, she was due to arrive, she never arrived, so they called the police. And they had a reason to call, okay? So anytime you hear about somebody calling 911, it's usually because they are related to the person, or they work with the person, or the person works with them, or maybe it's a dear friend, but it's still someone related to them. So do your research, but also keep your distance and don't cross the boundary. Don't cross into somebody's personal life when you don't know them. Don't get lost in fantasy and obscure the line between interest and concern into obsession, and now you become the problem. And now it does require maturity and a healthy sense of self to recognize other people's boundaries, other people's right to free will, other people's relationship to you, whether it's somebody you want to manifest romantically and they're saying no, or a celebrity that you think you have a right to do a wellness check on, even though you literally are an absolute stranger, which is kind of stalking. Whether it's your ex-boyfriend or Britney Spears, if you're trying to contact somebody who you don't know or who doesn't want to contact you, that is problematic. You are not concerned, you are concerning.
How to perform a wellness check legally.
Well, what I can say, now that I spent a little bit of moments to do some research, is that all the people who would be legally in the position to actually start an investigation or do a check on Britney Spears seem to be the ones who are corrupted, as in her family, her employers, and even maybe friends. So my question is, who fits into this legal realm of people who could actually try to help this woman? Who fits into that category that actually will? And is there anybody left in that category that's not corrupt and mooching money off of her estate and prefer to have her out of pocket, so to speak? Out of pocket, but in her pocket? I don't know. Maybe somewhere out there, there's a relative, a loved one, an employee, someone in Britney Spears' life who has the legal position, the legal right to actually try to check in on her. Maybe all of this poorly executed concern will spark, but maybe this poorly executed interest in figuring things out will spark concern in someone who has a legal basis, who has a legal footing, who has the ability and the interest in the best way, in Britney Spears' best way to actually start a true investigation. Hopefully, there's someone in this woman's life who cares for real, who actually has a position to do something to help her for real. Like Trey Serna says, free Britney for real this time. Okay, so I'm compiling all the clips that I made last night about Britney Spears' latest tweet and my thoughts about it, all together on one long video on YouTube, because I have an attention span. Like, I'm one of those people who could watch an entire season of something in a day or two, and I can sit there for like hours and watch a video. I can retain more than 3 minutes worth of information at once. So for anyone who also likes that, I'm gonna be on YouTube with this whole long video. And I decided, since I'm talking about wellness checks and stuff, why don't I look into it and see what it's about? Because I'm talking on something that I've never actually researched. I'm putting myself half off the screen so I can pop up this little video I made that I'm going to read about wellness checks. Police officers perform welfare checks on behalf of concerned friends, loved ones, acquaintances, co-workers. Okay, so let's see. So there, concerned friends, loved ones, acquaintances, co-workers. This is not total strangers or fans. How to conduct a police welfare check legally. It needs to be done legally. So here are some bullets. An employee, an elderly person who hasn't been seen by loved ones or neighbors, an out-of-state relative who hasn't been in contact for an extended amount of time, an employee who's not reported to work, an elderly person who hasn't been seen or heard from a specific time of day by neighbors or loved ones, a relative, okay, employee, an elderly person or a loved one, an out-of-state relative. These are the ways to legally conduct a welfare check. So if you're not an employee or an employer, if this is not an elderly neighbor or loved one or a relative, then you should not be calling a welfare check. There's other legal ways, start a petition, have a rally, reach out to politicians, reach out to lawyers, create some other kind of legal way to try to get an investigation going. There's legal ways to try to find the answers, but sending cops to somebody's house is not the answer. And sad but true reality is that if there's a person who is legally allowed to speak on Britney Spears' behalf, such as her husband, or maybe her CAA agent, or maybe a lawyer, or maybe someone who isn't her actual self, even if a cop or cops did go check on her, just like with Shelly Miscavige, if there's somebody who is legally allowed to speak for you, they're going to say you're okay, and the cops don't have to see you. So even if you did call cops and send them to somebody's house, if that person is under some type of legal care plan or something where someone else is legally granted power of attorney, then cops are going to go based on that, okay? They're not going to bust into somebody's house and illegally search. Of course, there's corrupt cops who do terrible things, but I'm talking about calling welfare checks, not corrupt cops at the moment. But if you do call corrupt cops to do a welfare check, what do you think's going to happen anyway? It is concerning. I agree, it's concerning. But what's also concerning is obsessed, stalker-like people who fantasize that this person is their best friend or a loved one or someone that they, that they can legally do that. So I'm all for somebody legally going through a real legitimate way to investigate and actually open up maybe a real case, a real investigation. Maybe there is cause to get an actual search warrant or something like that, but you're going to have to go through legal channels. And if you're dealing with corrupt officials, then, I don't know. I don't know what the path is. Again, brings me back to what I say is that I only go so far with certain types of investigations. My message in my videos is about how to be a happier person, how to be a less obsessed person. And in the case with Britney Spears at this point, there's really not much you can do unless you're going to try to go through some legal investigative route. That's your choice if you have the time, the money, and the energy to do that. But don't invade somebody's privacy, because that's wrong and that's not love. Hello, my lovely peaches.
Part 1.
So
Who's that
yesterday
girl?
I spent a lot
Where's
of
that
time
girl?
reading and popping up emojis and little things from Britney Spears's last IG post and caption before her IG went down. And like I said, I don't know if it was her posting or the team that runs her page posting. So the page went down, it's still down, and then someone posted on Twitter on her account on Britney Spears Twitter. So September 2022 there was a post about her and Elton John's song, and the last post was November 2022, something about Khloe Kardashian. I just find it super interesting that I saw on TikTok, seen people talking about calling and doing wellness checks, which I don't personally agree with, because I don't think you should do that if you're not related to somebody. Like, if you're not legally attached to somebody and have a right to do that, I don't think you should do that. But anyway, it's sort of weird that all of a sudden now, okay, so her Instagram went down. Now there's a post. If you didn't hear me read the post, you can go back and look at it. This is what the caption says on this one. As everyone knows, the police were called to my home based on some prank phone calls. I love and adore my fans, but this time things went a little too far and my privacy was invaded. The police never entered my home, and when they came to my gate, they quickly realized there was no issue and left immediately. This felt like I was being gaslit and bullied once the incident made it to the news and being portrayed once again in a poor and unfair light by the media. During this time in my life, I truly hope the public and my fans, who I care so much about, can respect my privacy moving forward. All the love, B. Okay, so if that's truly her, of course, I absolutely respect that. Again, though, anybody can write text. And is this actually her? And the person who posted that other extremely unusually worded, possibly cryptic, filled with either, messages that only the person who's getting the message would know, or some kind of like poetic riddle, I don't know. It just seems really awkward that she herself hasn't spoken on a video saying these things. The last time I heard her real voice, she was basically crying out for help, wanting people exposed. So it seems weird. So it's definitely not a prank. It might have been overzealous fans, but they are legitimately concerned. So whether or not that's the appropriate route to take, that is up for debate. I don't think that's the proper route, but still leaves a lot of questions. Where is she? Where is she, though? Why isn't she speaking for herself and it's always someone else speaking,
Watch
or
part
just
2.
captions? Look at
To
part
hear more of my
I'm so used to YouTube and doing super long videos, but I guess TikTok is about short ones. Anyway, I'm going to try to just make this a
Part
part
2.
2.
Who's
Part
that
1,
girl?
I read a
Where's that
caption
girl?
from Britney Spears' Twitter that was posted earlier today. And then this video is me continuing to basically explain what I think about it. So the first thing I want to just say is that I personally believe the idea or the concept that someone is a celebrity, therefore they don't have a right to privacy. I think that that's sick and twisted, and I never agree with that. And I strongly think that that's wrong. And I absolutely believe that people deserve privacy. People have a right to privacy, regardless if they've chosen to be in the public eye as their profession. They still have a right to a private life. So I think anyone who's trying to make it seem as if that's the issue in Britney Spears' situation, I think they're kind of missing the point, which was that she testified herself in court about a lot of issues, were very, very, very problematic issues. And then she has not been seen at all. So it's just concerning. And anyone who doesn't think that it's concerning, that's your right. It's your right to not be concerned. And it's also people's right to be concerned. I don't think that you should be reaching out and calling and things like that. You should respect people's privacy. However, asking questions and looking into the captions that were written and trying to discern, is it really her? Is it somebody trying to play a trick? Of course, there's the gang that like to blame her mental health and just excuse it all away by saying that she's mentally incapacitated or something and completely ignore all the lucid, mentally clear, not mentally ill issues that she brought to light that she wanted to talk about. But let's just forget about that shit and let's just say she's all. Let's blame it on that. Yeah, let's not use critical thinking. Let's just be critical. Let's just be critical. I'm still concerned. That's my truth. I'm still concerned about a woman who has not been seen in public. This isn't a woman who's been being hounded on videos and paparazzi photos and stuff like that, where everywhere she goes, there's photos of her. There's no photos of her. There used to be photos of her. There used to be pictures and videos of her shopping and getting junk food and buying this and that and the other stuff. But there's none of that. None of that. So, of course, you shouldn't hound a person, but it's also sort of pretty weird that she hasn't been seen. So I still have concerns. I don't see a free woman living her life being hounded by the press or the paparazzi and finally saying enough is enough. You keep taking pictures and videos of me and I'm shutting it down. Leave me alone. I see a woman who said in court, basically, help me get away from these people who have been abusing me, doing terrible things. And then she went silent, and all you see is either cryptic captions and old videos and footage of her, or, things that look like STFG. And now her IG is silent. It's down. I'm just a bystander, standing by, just watching, living my life, doing my own business, making my own content, but I still care.
Part 1 to read Brit's tweet.
That's what this is all about. Concern for another human being who asked for help.
Part 3. I guess I'm obsessed. A few
Part
more
3.
thoughts on Britney Spears.
So I said this is not a woman who's being hounded by paparazzi and there's pictures and videos of her everywhere, but that made me realize, of course, there's the TMZ sightings. TMZ is a paid-off tabloid. It's fake.
A real
When a real
person
person
but
goes
famous
outside,
person.
there's more than just one paid-off source, which is a tabloid which makes money off of gossip that sees a person. So that's not credible. They are not credible. They also are the ones who spread lies about her. So this tweet, which supposedly is her, she's calling out fans
She or
for
whoever
invading
is
her
posting.
privacy, but she's also calling out the media for once again portraying her in a poor and unfair light. So there's people like Andy and many others who used to speak out for her freedom who now assume and believe that she is free. And they also assume, I suppose, and believe that She's choosing to use her freedom to become a hermit, a recluse who stays hidden from the public and never releases anything current of her speaking. A person who wanted so desperately to speak, to be heard, to have everyone hear her testify. She wanted the people who hurt her to answer to that. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm obviously obsessed about it. I was never obsessed about Britney before, and I've always been a fan, but just sort of like average fan. This is just so much more to me than just, Britney Spears and her music. It's a true life mystery that's happening right now, and many people don't care. I realize that many people are just not interested. I don't know what it is about it that particularly hooked me. Maybe it's because of my own personal experiences, and it just spoke to me. And all I hope is that very soon we see a healthy, happy Britney Spears alive and well, walking out in the public and just minding her own business and being left alone, but just obviously a free woman, living her own life, doing whatever she wants, spending her own money, living where she wants to live, driving her own car, being with her kids. Kids happy, free, thriving, and doing everything and anything, whatever she wants. Being her own person.
Scroll back 4. Hearts 1 and 2.
Like we all want? Don't we all want that? Of course.